Over the last few years, I've spent quite a bit of time assessing my personal trading and comparing it with a lot of the trading followers or trading professionals that I admire and the mentors that I've come across through online platforms. And it's become, in my opinion, rather clear why most new traders quit before they become successful in trading. And I think that had I not had the opportunity to continue through the struggles and reflect upon my trading performance, making a very intentional effort to improve, I would have likely fell into these same traps. So I want to just discuss them in this video because these traps can prevent you from spending enough time in the markets in which you get to a point where you're starting to become profitable and you've overcome the hurdles that most new traders experience and most developing traders have a difficult time overcoming. So the first reason that I think most new traders quit before they succeed is because they have unrealistic expectations. One of the trading professionals that I admire and have been following for a long time, they mentioned an interesting statement that really resonated well with me, which is that if you want to succeed in trading, you have to develop realistic expectations. Because in order for you to succeed, you must first survive. I really understood that this meant trading was going to be not something I can expect to succeed in overnight, although many traders, new and existing traders, say that they had their initial success in the markets and then they experienced drawdowns, and that's when they really started to learn. In order for you to succeed, you must first survive. I think what this is saying is that trading requires you to understand how the downside can impact your progress and doing everything possible to manage your downside. This could be in the form of position sizing. It could be in the form of the types of setups you take. It could be in the way that you prepare your daily pre-market plan. Overall, if you develop unrealistic expectations in the markets, you have a very high likelihood, in my opinion, to be disappointed in your progress. And I don't blame you out there. I had similar struggles along the way, especially in the beginning. I noticed that a lot of traders started to enter the market as new traders because of the COVID environment. It attracted a lot of people that were looking for remote business opportunities. I mean, to be honest, it's the only profession that I can think of where you, aside from some business models, where you don't have a boss, you are your boss. You just need a laptop and an internet connection. You're not dealing with inventory. You're not selling services or products. You don't need to look at customer feedback and reviews. You're essentially reviewing yourself and trading in the market like a fisherman goes out and fishes, for survival in the sea. And there's nothing quite like it that I've experienced, at least, where it's interested me to the point where I want to continue. But all of these volatile stock movements were occurring during the COVID crash, and some people really benefited, and a lot of those that benefited were experienced traders who took advantage of the opportunity. But the new traders out there, I think they got sucked into this trap that, hey, I could become rich overnight. And in my research, I've also, tried to understand if in my personal trading, should I have dynamic risk? Should I stick with stable risk management? And the studies suggest that if you have dynamic risk, where you're using this gut feeling or experience to make higher risk trades, in the long run, you diminish your returns because you give back a lot of your profits. So that's one of the reasons why I've stuck to stable risk management. I might change this in the future, but at the moment I'm happy with it. But the first reason is quite alarming because trading takes time. If you have a larger amount of capital or if you have a small amount of capital, I don't think it really matters, because if you're looking at losses in terms of percentages, if you're looking at losses in terms of dollar amounts, you will easily bleed through that capital, whether it's $1,000 or $100,000, if you don't know what you're doing. So having realistic expectations is fundamental, because it could take you a year, 2 years, 3 years. For me, most of the things that I've learned, they've taken me a lot longer than the average person, simply because it's just the way that I learn and the way that I adapt. Maybe it's because I have strong habits that I need to overcome, and overcoming these habits, making a real change within myself, takes time, because I've developed habits through childhood, habits through university, habits through meeting certain people or my social circle. So for me, I understood from the beginning, this is going to take time, and I cannot expect myself or have such expectations that will basically discourage me from even continuing. So having realistic expectations for me really helped. I knew that anything that I've learned in the past in any sort of field has required for me to become some sort of expert at least 3 to 5 years, maybe even 7 years, maybe 10 years. But around 5 years is kind of like the halfway mark for me, and I'm perfectly comfortable with anything new I learn moving forward to take that much time. The second reason that I think most traders, new traders, fail is because they're not making an intentional effort to improve their trading. And this is simply because they treat it as a hobby. There's another statement that I want to make that relates to this, to maybe help you sort of better understand what I'm talking about. Random effort will equal random results. And that was a lot of my trading in the beginning when I started. I've mentioned in another video that I've traded instruments like penny stocks, I've traded big cap, and I've traded other types of derivatives as well, but it was rather random. And that random effort didn't materialize into any sort of consistent result. And it wasn't until I started to make a real intentional effort to get my trading to a point where every decision was as important as to a business decision that I would make, or like a personal decision that I would make in my life that would impact me. So whether it's the individual trades that I took, whether it was my expected return that I was looking to calculate by the end of the week based on my trades, sizing accordingly based on my account size, etc. If you don't review or reflect upon your efforts as a trader, if you don't record your trading activity, note down your trades in some sort of tracking journal software, and if you don't analyze this data, I personally think you're not really making an intentional effort. I think that you're getting caught up into thinking you can wing it, and that's not the case. There might be a very small amount of examples, perhaps, in the world where traders have become consistently successful, maybe just one of those statistical anomalies, but I'm not relying on that. It is my absolute goal to treat this like a business, in the form that I have data, I analyze this data, and I address my weak points, I enhance my strengths. So I'm making a conscious and intentional effort. And in the past video, I mentioned how recording my trades was one of the breakthrough moments for me. I record the screen in which I'm executing on, which has all the time frames in my execution software. I'm able to note down every single trade that I've taken after the trading session is over, even when I entered the trading pre-market prep time, and how long I spent on the pre-market prep, when I took my final trade and when I stopped trading. All of this is noted down because I really want to put in intentional effort, because I think that's where exceptional results will come through. I don't want it to be random, because, you know, to be a consistent trader, in my opinion, requires you to take trading to an exceptional level where it's not average anymore, where it's not like, oh, I'm just like any other person in any other profession. I'm actually taking the time to be top 10%, be top 1%. And anything less than that is not acceptable for me. So by not treating trading as a hobby, I'm able to take it seriously. I'm able to hold myself accountable. You know, if you need a trading buddy to hold you accountable, what if that trading buddy is not there that day in the markets with you? What if he's away on vacation? What if he doesn't want to trade anymore? What are you going to do? So you need to be accountable to yourself. And by making an intentional effort, you're more likely, in my opinion, to get consistent results. For example, I'll just touch up on this. I know, for example, that at the end of the week, my trading will result at least 80% chance, closer to 90, in a positive expected return. I don't know what the dollar amount will be. I don't necessarily know even the percentage amount. But as long as I do the same things every single day that my plan requires me to do, which is have a max loss per trade down to the dollar amount, stop after 2 losses, don't oversize by going beyond a certain percentage amount of my whole account. I know that as long as I focus on taking high probability trades, and I have my own criteria for this, which I can touch up on in a future video, I know by the end of the week, I will get a positive expected return, about an 80% chance, which I think is pretty great, because it keeps me calm. And when I did not follow my rules in the past, or I didn't have clear rules, it was really random. I didn't know what to expect by the end of the week. So that specific day, that specific trade just added much more pressure on me. And to be honest, I deviated. Didn't take my stop loss, extended it too far, oversized, took a random trade that I didn't really have any conviction on. You know, the list goes on. So be intentional with your trading and treat it like something you take very seriously, because it will show in your results. The last reason why I think most new traders quit before they become successful, or they've even mastered it, is because they look at trading as the next thing they will try out. And this kind of touches upon the second reason, which is they are not making an intentional effort. They treat it as a hobby. But the real reason is they're just career hopping. They don't really want it that bad. And by having that intention that this is something I actually want to do for the next 5 years, regardless of what your other circumstances are, you're, you know, working full time, or you're working part time, or you have some money saved up, you live with your parents, you want to try out this other thing, you tried drop shipping, it didn't work, you tried Amazon FBA, it didn't work, you tried, you know, doing all this other stuff, and trading was something cool during this COVID rush of volatility, and you got into seeing that you'd get lucky. Maybe it's something you can turn into a business within 3 months and start to pay off your student loan, or start to buy that new nice thing that you wanted to buy. You know, you're just hopping from next one thing to the other, and to be honest, you really just don't want it that bad. So new traders that are getting into the markets now, I think they don't have as much of an issue like it was during the pandemic, or perhaps they understand that this market is filled with professionals who have been doing it for longer than they admit to. And so they don't have as much incentive to just say, hey, look, let me just try this out. I think I can wing it. If it doesn't work, I'm going to try something else. So I came to the conclusion that I wanted to do trading. I didn't even understand what kind of trading, to be specific, but I understood that I wanted to get my experience into the markets. But this decision was completely my own, not because I saw the money, but because I was leaving another career. And during the beginning, I'm still grateful that I had the opportunity to have this other hobby, which turned into a somewhat profession. But it just wasn't going to be something I would do for the long term. And when I came across this trading profession, I think I got really lucky. I immediately went to sources that weren't showing anything flashy. They were purely showing objective technical analysis, bar by bar. They were giving advice that woke you up, not made you feel hopeful that, hey, look, I can do it tomorrow if I just wing it. And I can even mention that, this trading platform on YouTube, their channel is Live Traders, Jared and Anmol. I mean, these guys, they just teach the real stuff. It's not like just supply and demand, or it's not just, hey, look, percentages and risk management and just, you don't know which trade is going to work out. You just take a 50% guess. They teach you price action. And I know you can go to some books like bar by bar analysis and read technical analysis from anywhere else, but I just went straight to these guys. I just found that from learning a prior career in which it was required for me to be the best if I wanted to succeed or make some money, and kind of filtering out the noise, I did a really great job of filtering out the noise. And by knowing that, look, I'm not just doing this because I want to try something new. I actually will do this, and if I enter this industry and try this out, I won't give up until I succeed. I'm not career hopping. And I've come across family members, friends, they tell me, hey, you should try this thing out. You should try this thing out. And this is, while I've been trying to do trading and creating my system, all the hard experiences that I've had, the difficult experiences, and it's just like, no, I will not try anything else. When I try something new and I'm convinced that this is resulting in profitability or that makes you money, I can see the evidence, it's objective, no one is pushing me to do it, I will have to make a conscious decision, and I will stick to this until I produce at least a B+ result. And that's my personal expectation of myself. So in sum, because I don't want to make this video too long, I think there may be more, but about 3 major reasons why most new traders fail. And so reason number 1, obviously, is that they have unrealistic expectations. Reason 2 is that they don't make an intentional effort and they treat it as a hobby when they should be treating it otherwise. And the last reason is they're just career hopping. They don't really care about trading. And you can sort of see when you can identify a person who's actually interested. A, you don't have to go tell them to go research how to trade. B, they're eager to ask you questions. And C, they don't care if they fail in the short term. They're not looking for a home run right off the bat, and this will not discourage them. So eventually I do want to get to a point where I'm able to help others, but I think that's a lot to take on right now. I just rather just share my experiences and hopefully it provides you value. But in a nutshell, the reason most traders, new traders quit is simply because they just don't understand what it takes. They're not willing to take those risks and put in the effort, and they really don't care about trading. Because if you trade right now and you really care and you're frustrated with your results and you're angry when you look at the mirror after a trading session, I think you're one step there. You have addressed that this makes you move, it makes you tick, and you're not happy with where you are. But in order for you to get to the next step, you're gonna have to be really serious with yourself. you're going to have to put in the series hours off the charts so that when you come into the market open, you're not making random decisions. And to conclude, I know what I'm trading. I know how I need to trade. I know what I'm looking for. I know how much I want to risk. And I know when I have to take the foot off the gas. And I have strict rules that I follow and I can never deviate from. These are obligatory rules. And I think that's going to be super helpful. So hopefully I'll cover some of those in a future video. If you gained value from this video, please let me know in the comments. Hope you guys have a great trading week. Take care.